Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. AI is with us, whether we like it or not. And technology, as it always has led the way, and people have tried to stop it and fretted about it and wondered whether it was going to change the world in detrimental ways. And invariably, it helps. And almost every technology, maybe other than nuclear weapons, has, and even that has helped in some ways, but obviously has had horrendous detrimental impact in the world. AI is different. It's a technology that is now evolving, and I think all of us recognize that it's one that we're all using, and we need to use more, and we need to use more of it as quickly as possible because otherwise we're going to be left behind. And I've heard a variety of stories where at this point, unless you're fully engaged with AI, you will be left by the wayside. So today is not a conversation about whether that's true or not. Today is a conversation with experts talking about how do you implement this thing? How do you make it to be your friend and not a foe? And so I really appreciate all of you for speaking today. We have in this case, I believe one, two, three, four expert speakers, and I'll let Franz introduce all of you. Franz Mewison is the managing partner of Amplify Now Global. He's This is a consulting company that not only understands the technologies, but understands processes and processes within companies. And it's really important to understand how businesses work, can work, and be applied to the technologies. And so, Franz, thank you for your leadership. Really appreciate you putting this program together. In fact, this is the second of two programs that we've done on this topic. There was so much discussed, there was so much happening the last time, it just couldn't fit into one Globinar. So thank you for letting this one ooze out into this meeting, and undoubtedly it will be just as amazing as the first one. Is there anything that you would like to explain to the audience in terms of the framework today, how long you expect it to go, how they should be interacting, how can they ask questions, how long will it go, and how will each one of the speakers speak, and will it be a round table? How do you expect today to go?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Doug. So this indeed is going to be an open conversation between the panelists around productivity in organizations and the influence of AI that it has on it, both from just as a productivity tool, but also as a support tool, but also looking at AI as a tool to shape systems engineering and organizational structures and organizational thinking. This session is taped, and it will also be distributed through all the channels. But therefore, please mute yourself and also turn off your camera. And then if you have any questions, by all means, please put them in the chat function of this Zoom meeting. We will monitor it and intersect your questions into the conversation. With that said, I would like to introduce Bastiaan from the Netherlands, from the organization LES. Bastiaan, you are on mute. You're the wrong person to be on mute.
Sorry, I listened too closely to you. So, thanks, Doug and Frans, for having me. So I'm part of the LES community, which helps organizations work through their organizational pains. I'm a full stack CEO, so that means that I also use quite a lot of AI to help the teams producing what we need to do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gabrielle, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Gabriel Uribe. I'm the CEO of Racing Up, a company that helps business owners and other companies to agility to their teams so we can help them navigate the pain that makes create something new and adapt these new frameworks to their busy lives. And as a CEO of this company, I use a lot the AI, and I have seen a lot of the vices that some CEOs and team members does. Well, get into the trap of using the AI as a tool.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Gabriel. Pablo, your
Hello.
chance.
Thank you very much. Um, well, I'm a COO with Raising Up, and also a Global Chamber Mexico City Deputy Director. And I use the artificial intelligence not only for my daily tasks, but also it has been very helpful for me to keep and simulate many of the operations of our customers in Raising Up as we uh, we keep and go with our customers to get better operations. Then the AI has been a very aggressive and very helpful tool to get some to simulate some scenarios and also to uh, get better decisions. So we can't simulate business some this business scenarios and get insights to keep better decisions. So that's the way we use the AI. France, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo. Greatly appreciated. And Sean, how are
Hello.
you?
Good. Hello, everybody. I'm from the frigid Virginia plains. I don't know how else to say it, but anyway, yeah, I think that if you go one more slide, front,
I'll do that.
um, the key here is yes, my background actually, my like vocation is project manager, and most of my work has been in the insurance space. But the consult I've been an independent consultant for a very long time. That's kind of a key piece coming up, I think. As far as AI goes, I still remember I was listening. I don't even know when this was, years ago. I was listening to a podcast when somebody on the podcast goes, there's this new thing called Chat GPT, and they're looking for beta users. You have to get on this list, blah, blah, blah. So I went right away and I got on the list. I had no idea what it was, right? Got on the list because I heard it on the podcast. But a lot of things in my life have happened that way as far as technology. Anyway, got on the list and actually got in. So I was one of the beta users that was able to use it before anybody, before they became kind of a public thing. And I have been playing with it ever since. Playing with it, using it myself for my own tasks. I can talk about that a little bit. But then also have helped others, which I will maybe talk about today in the use case, help others with it. So that's it.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Well, that's a really good segue also. Thank you all for the introductions. The one leading question that I had going into this session was really about organizational productivity and how to framework that, how companies look at productivity from an organizational perspective, and then how AI plays into that as well. So maybe Bastian, this is a question directed to you really, because Les is very much focused on organizational effectiveness. What are your thoughts and experiences so far with AI in this spectrum?
Yeah. So perhaps it might be a good idea for Doug to close the screen share.
I'm done.
I will
Successfully.
close that.
Excellent. That gives us some bigger headspace. So yeah, I think organizational design is something that is for a lot of organizations often not a topic. because they don't realize that you can actually do that in a very effective way. So they tend to look at the smaller changes, and if they want to make a change that is rather larger for the whole organization, they usually go all in, which is also very tricky to do and probably not advised at all. How does AI help in that? I think for the larger organizational changes, forget it. There is no way you can have a useful AI in that. But for a lot of small experiments and changes, AI is actually quite brilliant already. But my key message for the start is don't make the changes too big. And we'll go into detail what AI can do a little bit later.
That's excellent. Very good. Very good accent. Sean, you had shared with us a experience that you had with AI in regards to a pharmaceutical change management project.
Yeah, so this kind of goes along a little bit with maybe what Bastian just said. My advice to if somebody wants my advice on AI is, I've heard, let me put it this way. I've heard these stats. A couple of weeks ago, I heard that in Q4 or whatever it was, Q3, in the kind of the investor calls that many of the Fortune 500 companies have, I think the most used letters were AI. They counted how much. So every company claims to do it. But when you talk to people in these companies, they're like, I don't know. So my biggest piece of advice is the whole how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So anyway, so to that point, my sister just started. She's a marketing director for a pharmaceutical company in Germany, and it's more of a recent gig. And the owners asked her, "Hey, we have to use AI." That was the mandate. And we were talking about it. And she knows, like I said, I've been playing with AI for years now. She's like, "How do I do this? Like, how do I even write a strategy document about how to implement AI?" I told her the same thing, one bite at a time. So we picked one very particular process or one thing that she was working on at that point. So that was what it was, is this pharmaceutical company had bought an app, not pharmaceutical, not a drug, but they had bought an app that kind of lines up with they do a lot of ADHD type of drugs in Europe. So they bought an app, what's called digital health app, to go along with their suite of real products. And because of that, they wanted to rebrand, or what they call the branding hierarchy. So what do you name the product suites? What do you name the products? So it all kind of lines up. So anyway, she had come in the middle of this. So her first day, or basically was right in the middle of this. So internally, they have a marketing department of like 15, 20 people. They were working on this, what they call this branding hierarchy or rebranding hierarchy. They also had an agency in Germany helping them work with this. So she asked me, she's like, "Hey, on the side, parallel, could you do this with AI?" Now, this is kind of the interesting thing, because it's not in my wheelhouse. And one of the things I say about AI is if you really want to use it effectively, you also have to be an expert in the subject matter. But she said, "Hey, over the weekend, can you do something parallel and see how it lines up with, what our internal team is doing as far as rebranding and what our agency is doing?" I'm like, "Sure, this will be, fun, interesting for me." So, and again, this is kind of where I go back to my consulting mindset, not project manager, not insurance, but consulting. While I was at Accenture, or, if you've been at like any of the big consulting companies, how would they tackle any problem like this, right? So, but anyway, what I did over the weekend is I produced a framework using AI. I produced a framework to come up with a new branding wording, right? And then I produced, and it was based on inputs that she had given me and some other things that I grabbed. I even asked AI, hey, what should I consider when for a pharmaceutical rebrand? What books should I consider? What experts should I consider, et cetera, et cetera? What because it's Europe, so many countries, what cultural intelligence should I consider, et cetera. So anyway, I fed all this. And one of the things, again, that I talk about a lot with AI is one of the main things is you have to contextualize the AI. It is nearly impossible to go in and say, hey, I want this, right? You're gonna get a dumb response or just dumb things, right? So you have to kind of build this up, this AI. And I'll say real quick on the side, I'm doing some consulting work for a state here in the United States. They have lots of insurance requirements. They lend lots of money, millions of dollars, and have all kinds of ownership of buildings, et cetera. So they have these insurance requirements. So I've been helping them not only make sure that their requirements are correct, but also benchmarking their requirements, helping them with more esoteric insurance types of stuff. And I have built up basically a suite of chats, if you will, not only ChatGPT, but in all the major AIs that I've been building literally over the year that I've been working now. So I literally have like my own super smart intern that does all the grunt work because I've been building this up. Anyway, so that's what I did with my sister over a weekend. I fed this thing as much as I could, input, input, input. I kept asking the AI, I'm like, what am I missing? So just kept building. And then literally on Sunday night, I'm like, okay, here's what I need. And it spit out perfectly, like a framework. It didn't tell me what to do, but it said, here's a framework that they could use. And by the way, if the framework has to change because somebody else has a different opinion, here's a lever that you can pull to change the framework. Anyway, ended up giving it to her on Sunday night. Monday morning, she pinged me back. She's like, not sure we're going to use this framework, but we're using the framework to judge all the other work that's being done for us. So anyway, and I was able to do that over the weekend, basically without the kind of pharmaceutical subject matter expertise.
So the quick question that comes to mind is so your sister's company tasked her with utilizing AI. So what was the basically the impetus? What did the company want to achieve with that directive?
Right, because again, back to what I said earlier, you get the Fortune 500 companies all mentioning that AI is become a prerequisite. So everybody just says it, but they don't know how to tackle it, right? I mean, I know plenty of people that I meet who haven't really used it yet, or maybe have gone into it, and because it just seems like an elephant, right? It's like, oh my God, how do even my sister. That's why she asked me. She's like, it's an elephant. I'm like, that's why you got to do it one bite at a time, right? And you just got to start, but and don't try to like focus on the big elephant. Focus on that one bite. And this is what I would say with anybody, especially a company, small, medium, large. I would say, don't say, I want to use AI to become more efficient. Say, I want to use AI for this particular process because it makes total sense for this. And then try it. Give it a shot. And by the way, the more people that, especially if you're a firm that is, a company that has several people, and this is something I've told my sister is, not only do you want to start with a small bite, but make sure everybody is in on that experiment together, right? Because if you're building up a chat, a group that's building up the chat is going to have much better results than Sean building up the chat, right? So, and I'm only talking about chats, I mean, AI, you could go much further now with what they call agentic AI, et cetera. But the first step, like I said, is, don't think of it as, I just want to use AI and just become flustered by the elephant. Think about where can I use AI? So.
Well, thank you for that. That's interesting. I'm latching onto the thing that you said about
The elephant?
involving, yeah, but the elephant, absolutely. Maybe it's because it's lunchtime, but
Yeah.
also because of what you said about pulling in and other team members, the group.
Yeah. So, and by the way, Chat GPT, I'm not sure about the others. I use the others, but you could always buy pro plans, very expensive to get a team in. But now if you're on the paid version of Chat GPT, so not free, but the paid, which is like $20 a month, they now in the top right-hand corner, you can see it. You can say share with the team or whatever it says, right? And all of a sudden, the one chat that you're working on, everybody in the team can contribute to that chat, right? Which again, context building is half the battle when you're using Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that building up your I'll throw out another example. I work with a small consulting company here in the DC area. And same thing. They're like, how can we use Chat GPT? In their case, it was how to bid on projects. So, the government has RFPs. How do you bid on projects? And they were literally still, I mean, handwriting every response. I mean, they'd refer back to other responses or bids that there were, but handwriting, crafting from new. And I'm like, this is crazy. You need to use AI to at least leverage it for the parts that you can. And better yet, if the whole team is leveraging the same AI, versus everybody kind of doing their own thing, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, that's indeed okay. The involving the group dynamics into utilizing AI. That's excellent. So summarizing that, that's a focus on applying AI for indeed change management and direction building. Gabrielle, to put you on the spot. You also mentioned that when we last spoke in regards to the use of AI or some of the challenges and interesting elements of using AI in organizations focus on how it affects or how it represents also the human element in organizations.
Yes, thank you, Franz. Um, you, in my involvement with this part of AI, some of the clients, some the consultants, they come with the idea of they becoming more efficient or more have more productive personal productivity. So what we have found is that sometimes if they're not conscious or they don't have this reason why to do it, like Sean said, like being clear on what is the small step that they want to create. At least in my experience, executives sometimes when they use ChatGPT or any AI tool to be more productive. Like I'm going to create a presentation. So they put the prompt, they create the presentation, they upload the things, and they get it as an element, and they can create it in less time that they would do it by themselves. But the problem that sometimes happens is that AI is designed to be fed with more information. So this I have a client that is say he told me, "Hey, in I created a PowerPoint in 20 minutes and I spent the rest of the 2 hours that I was trying to design it, just chatting with with getting more information because it's would you like to do it in Canva? Would you like to do it executive report? So sometimes if you're not conscious about it, you start chatting with and it's very fun to do it. It's changing information with a very smart in the like person or whatever intelligence. So it's if you're not aware of, I'm going to do it because I want to have more time to create the presentation or to get more information, you get sometimes mesmerized by the possibilities of that tool, of using more that tool, and instead of just getting to the part of, I just want the PowerPoint, and I will do the rest on creating my craft of presenting, and or I can do my lobby with a board of directors, whatever. And so sometimes for my advice for some of my clients are just be aware that you don't want to be more productive to have more in your plate. You want to be more effective to have less in your plate so you can think about a strategy, so you can think about how to connect with other human beings. And you can, but you don't want to be more effect or you don't want to be more productive to get to get more things done. It's not on our nature to to get more things done. You have to take more, and that's, I think, the beauty of AI is that if reducing it the right way, it will take things of our plate, like manual stuff, and repetitive stuff that we don't add value to it. And us as humans, we add value by connecting with the other humans, by thinking strategically, not by doing more. So that's my intake. Just be conscious about what's the result that you want to create in your time frame. Like if you want, like sometimes I tell my clients that they pay me so they can go to more time on vacations without their laptops.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent, very good. And that reminds me also of something else that you were talking about as well. So right now we've talked about AI as a productivity tool in regards to you know uh, a super research tool or search engine that's personalized in the use case for individuals. For people individually to use as productivity tools in their organizations or their work environments, whatever they're doing. But then, so there the value is very good. Two questions that come up is do you need to check the work that the AI search engine delivers for you? If so, you do it. How do you do that? But then also the larger part is AI driving you then to become more individualistic in your work? And is that a risk for the organization, for product development, for voice of customer, and other types of shortcuts? Yes, Sean.
While he's thinking about that, he mentioned a couple of things that I think you want to be careful of. Actually, between the two of you, you have three things that I think you have to be careful of. One is, Franz, you just talked about checking stuff. I literally have a good example where I asked my AI suite a very specific insurance question just this past Friday, and it spit back a completely wrong answer, right? Thank God I know the subject matter inside and out. So I actually went to the source website that issues this kind of edict, whatever, and I corrected it. And it's interesting because I went back and told AI, hey, you're dead wrong. And it had a very diplomatic way of saying, Sean, you're right. This is actually what you should do. So anyway, that's one, right? But Gabrielle, you had two very good points. I think one is when you're using AI, first of all, there's a bias for AI to make you sound like, oh, Sean, you're the greatest, great ideas, whatever. I don't know what this bias is called, but you have to kind of get over the I'm so great that AI is telling me I'm great. You have to kind of see, you got to know what you want and just kind of see through the BS, if you will, right? And then two is a lot of people end up kind of going down that AI rabbit hole because especially ChatGPT will, you'll say, do this and that, and then I'll do that. And then I'll give you a bunch of suggestions of extra stuff to do. And you're like, oh, that sounds good. And all of a sudden, like half an hour later, you're down this rabbit hole that's completely like off track. So, but I'm sorry that I'm babbling on the presentation thing. This small consulting company that I work with, I just actually several weeks ago, I helped them with this. Well, the owner knows the head surgeon here at one of the hospitals in Virginia. And this head surgeon, every Monday morning, he had to give a 15-minute presentation to his army of surgeon, whatever they're called, right? So, and what he would do is spend the weekend, he would go through all the journals that he reviews on surgery, very specific journals. Then he would say, okay, here are the 5 points. He would come up with something, which was pretty easy for him. And then he would put it in a PowerPoint. He said that whole, and he would just make 4 slides, nothing fancy, but just something on those 4 or 5 points he would bring up, right? But he said, hey, that still took up 2, 3, 4 hours of my weekend because I had to read and find something and blah, blah, blah. So I helped my friend for him build basically one research agent that would go through his specific sources and pick out like the top latest 4 trends, right? It would pick them out and then summarize those. Then another agent would take that and go into a different AI. This one's actually called Gamma AI. Well, actually, the research agent would pick out the 4 things, summarize it. Then another agent would kind of create the presentation, i.e., kind of the formatting and what should be written on it. And then the third agent, which is through an AI called Gamma, it would actually make the presentation, right? And by doing this, by handing him these 3 agents, which all act together, he spent literally 5 minutes Saturday mornings kicking off the process. That's it, right? So, and no formatting, no going down some crazy path. He just knew exactly what he wanted, and he just shaved 4 hours off his day.
That's excellent. Well, that's a good example of productivity one, on an individual level. So, but if you're working, say, for example, in a product development environment, how does AI affect both the scoping as well as the development, the organizational functionality and the teamwork?
No, perhaps I can elaborate a bit on that. So I think one of the key things which Sean mentioned is about agents. So an agent is nothing more than just one AI instance that you gave specific instructions, or it has been trained for a very specific goal. And the cool thing about it is that you can kind of link them together, as Sean explained. And what you now see happening is that more and more tools are becoming more the orchestrator for you, so that you just have to say, hey, I would like to do this or that. And then the orchestrator will arrange all the necessary AI agents for you. So this is, at least for short term, the future of AI. So how does that translate to, for example, organizational design or productivity in your product development team, no matter if you have 1 or 2 people in the team or you have 50 teams. So one example also from an insurance company here in the Netherlands, I saw that they used that there are several acts issued by the European Union where governments say, okay, you need to be cyber resilient, but also financially, if you're a financial institute, you also have to be bound by certain rules, which partially safety are included as well. One of them is called DORA, and this insurance company actually produced, I would say, around 60% of all the reporting, but also the actual checking of all the rules through AI agents. Because the majority of the data is coming from your organization in some form of actual data. And AI can handle literal data very well. So again, once you are accustomed to agents, and ChatGPT and others will facilitate that more and more, you are able to kind of tie all of them together. So one would say, hey, if a software developer produces some code which needs to be executed on some server, but somebody else needs to double check what that person actually did. You can use an AI agent for that. And just as Sean mentioned, if you want to double check it again, you just add another agent. And if you want to have an agent that looks at the formatting, you can include that as well. So you can have it loop constantly, even 100 times, until it becomes what perfect might be. And therefore, the human in the loop becomes, let's say, still less necessary, but it is still necessary, but towards the end to kind of validate, is the last step still what I desire to have? So I think the key thing for everybody to learn who's watching this is to hop on the bandwagon of agents. It's not an easy concept to understand, but once you do, it's like when you have a company with more than 1 or 2 employees. It's literally like that. They will kind of help everybody work together on the thing that you're doing, but then through AI agents. So I think it might be too technical to go in too deep, but for the people who are have some software developers and testers, etc., definitely look at Claude Code. It's one of the easier ones, and it does it very well. Or Cursor is another really good one to look at. If you're outside of the product development realm, they're probably not the best ones to look at, but you can still have a lot of fun with them.
Wow, excellent. Well, thank you for that. So just to juxtapose that, within organizations, within product development organizations, are there any functions that are being taken over by AI?
Lots. I think most of the people who are worried about that should be worried, but you should not be worried that you lose a job per se. All technologies in the past, all industrial revolutions shown that we actually produce more work after that than less work. So the whole concept of that we will be with a coconut under a palm tree will also not happen this time, because we will continuously produce more work where we will still be involved. As a human, we will be more creative. AI is definitely super creative, but it is limited by what it is being fed by us humans. If you look at a very large AI model from X, Grok, it's really fast, it's really good. But if you look at the recent shootings that happened, if you ask Grok about it, it will give you misinformation, most likely. And why is that? Because somebody else on the internet actually published some misinformation, and Grok will happily just take it, and that will become a huge problem. So the current cycle of AI might become very, very negative, actually. So it's not always honky-dory around AI. Not sure if I answered your question now properly, Frans.
No, you did, and Sean, by all means, step in. I have an anecdote to share after that as well. It's kind of
So,
funny.
fair warning, Grok is powered by Elon Musk's X,
Yeah.
and so take that with a grain of salt. What Grok is spitting back, that is the masses telling, the masses that are using X. That's why it tends to be very politically leaning at points, So anyway, but back to kind of product development, right? The question like where can AI help the most, the least? I think the way I would think about it is what exactly is involved in product development, right? Some of the software companies I've worked with, very big software companies, right? They'll have first of all, kind of the business analysis side, product development, this is where requirements come in, this is what we should do, blah, blah, blah. Then there's obviously the software guy, the people who are coding it, whatever. Then there might be another testing function, who knows? Instead of thinking of all one thing, back to, one bite at a time from the elephant, think of them separately, right? First of all, think of those things separately. And then what within each of those are some very specific things that you do. I've seen one product manager who has created an AI agent that handles his whole in Jira, where he keeps all his requirements and user stories and stuff. I've seen several product managers be able to use AI to sort through that and deal with all of that on its own, right? So anyway, that's my point.
Excellent. And I think there's a little bit of a beauty there as well, particularly for organizations that are doing product development, and that want to develop unique products that generate revenue and that they can protect as a revenue stream. So then the quality of data becomes key. And you can say that the AI agent itself is maybe just transactional and well, it's just a tool, but that the real value of the product is the people the data and the people that use it.
Yeah. So to add to that, and also to what Sean just mentioned, one of the beautiful things about product development is called discovery. And what is meant by that? Discovery means actually that you as an organization allow your people to actually talk to customers and discover what they would like to see and have from your product. And if something you delivered is not really fulfilling that, you will hear that very fast from your customers. The challenge with a lot of, especially larger organizations, and that can already be, let's say, 30 plus people, is that a lot of people don't listen anymore to the customer. They think they do, but they don't really talk to the customer. And if you're even bigger, then nobody really talks to the customer. It's done through, let's say, research and market stuff. So discovery, if you need to have humans for that and not AI, because AI is not really good at that. Because AI will mostly only do the things they already did and what he knows. He will not really come up with something new. But as a human, you can. So if AI can help you with a lot of productivity tools, that you have more free time to actually spend with product discovery, what does your customer really want? I think there is the real value of AI, not to make people really efficient, but to allow them to use the mental creativity that we have as a human to use that.
Yeah.
To add to that point, it's totally we're this as human we are designed to connect with with customers, with people, with other humans. So spending more time on that connections, that's that's a kind of the difference for a client that it was creating this. I have two things that came into mind while we were discussing this. The first time, the first thing was this more time to connect and really connect and accept all the emotions and information that a customer will tell you that it doesn't like or it does like or it does love without filter that, oh, this is my feature that I love and just take it as a in the discovery part, take it as raw as they don't like this part. And the other thing that we came across by implementing one process of AI, it's the teams, the resistance of some teams to implement or uh, to be knowledgeable and willing to optimize some process or to put the process behind the AI, that human conversation to and keep for managers, this is crucial for them when they are implementing this, is yet they need to have this human connection and keep having conversations with their team so they can put the AI together and to do it as a project, not only as one feature for one benefit for one person. So they have to start thinking as a team globally, and they have to have open discussions about their own fears and their own things that they will fear that, oh, this AI, it will take all my work and that human part is also very, we need to be knowledge aware of that happens with when we are integrating this to a bigger scale and not only the individual. But that was the two things.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's interesting. So my own experiences with using AI is it actually helps us internally collaborate more effectively. Because we share common information so basically we do a lot of research into market situations and roadmaps and whatnot. And the way that we use it is one of my partners will do research from his perspective and his angle, and he's much more technical than I am, and I'm much more focused on the sales and marketing communication side of it. And then we compare the findings that we have had and discuss what is missing and how we can present that to our customers and to their customers, how we can use it. But every time that we go through this process and using AI, we come up with new questions, and the questions are always deeper than the first round of questions. And so we're constantly augmenting the AI process itself. And this itself has become our process of doing our product development, which is that market research. So it goes much faster. We unlock new questions, and we come up with better questions for voice of customer purposes as well. So because that is a real challenge. Knowing the right questions and being able to listen and hear that feedback. But that's a fun one. Tying this back into the topic of elephants. A couple of years ago, I had a technical friend explain to me AI and how he used it. So he's a software developer and he's very much into compliance and regulatory and he's very, very, very precise and on top of the quality of data and questioning as well. And so we were talking about AI, and he opened his OpenAI app on his phone, and he asked me, Frans, come up with a question. AI will give you an answer. And so I said, okay, well, it took me a while to come up with a question, and then I said, are there pink elephants? And so you typed into ChatGPT, are there pink elephants? And the answer was resoundingly no. The chances that there are pink elephants in the world is 0.0000 whatever. And then they said, well, that seems very accurate. And then I said, but that's not the power. So what ask me a follow-up question. I said, okay, in a world of pink elephants, are there any other elephants with a different color? And so then ChatGPT directly answered the question as if indeed there are pink elephants everywhere. And so then I said, yeah, well, there are pink elephants, and based on that fact, there can be other colored elephants as well. And so then all of a sudden, ChatGPT was giving me an answer that I wanted it to give me, without any limitations of fact or truth or whatnot. It just gave me the answer that I wanted. And then I said, just now a historical question. Come up with a historical question. So I said, okay, well, what happened on July 6th, 1982, something like that. And it gave me a very good answer on what happened on that date. And then I said, okay, well, give me another historical question. I said, okay, what happened on July 6th, 2038? And it gave me also a really good answer on what happened on that day, 15 years down the road, as if it had already happened. So that was, and then for me, every time I play with AI, I keep that in mind. So like, I have to be careful of what I ask and how I ask it and what are the constraints. How do I use it? Because you can get lost. That's my parting shot. So what are some of the challenges that you encounter using AI, or distractions?
Oh,
I think Jim has a
Jim,
question. Frans?
no, Jim raised his hand.
Yeah, Jim.
First, a bit of trivia. When did AI start?
Ooh.
What date did AI become effective?
Long
Oh,
time ago. I don't know the
19,
exact.
1993.
Yeah.
We are using general language, which is everything. 1993, one of the biggest example is the injury lawyers had their own AI who would I call it a dump instead of priming. They dump everything about a case in there. And I think it was Commando, don't hold me to that, came back with, this is going to be the range you're going to get out of the jury. That's how long it's been around.
I've worked with insurance companies that have had their own AI for decades, right? So, yeah.
And getting back to what Sean said, the people, especially, we basically work with unicorns. If they don't have an IP or a moat, we have to be very, very careful in the market. What we found effective when you part of the dump is put all the competitors in there, all of them, whether it be SEO or whatever it may be, and have the AI come up and review all the negative reviews and comments, both website, social media, all of that. And if you're making a bid, all of it doesn't have to be dollars. If you find we call it a gap. All right. If you can find something no one else is doing, especially with your IP, you're not a moat, that you're not moated, that you can get a gap in the competitive market that no one's addressing.
Yeah.
AI, it takes 10 seconds.
Yeah.
No matter how many websites. On the negative side, that we have found, especially with noisy, crowded markets, since it is general language, that everybody's sounding the same. You could have 20 companies, you got 20 people sounding the same. So you're going to be everybody hit the right notes, that you have to differentiate yourself in the dump so it comes out in a differentiated manner that no one else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an excellent challenge.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Indeed. Yeah.
I'll say that I feel like a lot of people think that AI will save them tremendous amount of time. In the longer run, yes. But what I did for my sister, what I've done for myself, has taken a very long time to build up, right? To get the chats. And if you're going to go down that agent route, you're paying a price up front for the win later on, right? So it's certainly not a silver bullet.
Excellent.
I got to move on to something else.
Yeah.
This is not my only networking, but I bring this up that given I think Microsoft is the only one that actually makes a profit on AI. All of the rest of them are so deep in debt that I'm wondering what's going to happen between this very day and mid 2026 with AI itself. I mean, how ChatGPT, which is one of our main ones, they probably owe what quarter trillion dollars already. And $20, $20, $20 ain't going to help them too much. It's going to be. I understand they're going to start putting ads on.
As a search engine, I guess. Yeah. Excellent. Good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody. This wraps up this session. I greatly appreciate everybody's time and insights and participation. I've learned a lot.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to everybody.
Good day.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.